Hello and welcome to the F&O Show on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I'm Darshan Mehta. Good morning, Agam.
Good morning, Darshan. I'm Agam Akil. Here are the headlines. Indian markets start the week on a positive note with all sectoral indices trading in the green. The Bilcon jumps over 6% on being the lowest bidder for the 480 crore project. Open interest in Just Dial continues to surge after traders take fresh positions in their respective stock futures. India will go to the polls in 7 phases starting April 11th. Counting of the votes will take place on May 23rd. The Election Commission will also hold simultaneous assembly elections in Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh and Odisha, and Sikkim. Elections to Jammu and Kashmir Assembly have been deferred at this point. And State Bank of India will link interest rates on savings deposits of over 1 lakh to the RBI's repo rate from the 1st of May, becoming the first domestic lender to link rates to an external benchmark.
Okay, let's see what the markets are doing at this point of time. Pretty decent opening. We are up about the 11,150 mark in trade. So there is strong traction, up 80 points on the Nifty, up almost 100 points now. That's the spot for you. The Nifty futures are at up almost 80 points at this point of time. So there is strong traction that's happening. The Bank Nifty is doing extremely well. Is just close to 1.5% away from all-time high. So it needs to go above the 29,000 mark in trade, but nevertheless, traction is extremely strong. Where are positions taken? Put writers are extremely aggressive at the 11,000 level. So 11,000 now seems to be the big support level that the market is looking at. From 10,700 to 11,000, put writers are writing and call writers are active from 11,000 to higher levels. But at this point of time, it seems 11,000 is the base. Even if you look at what's happening in trade today, put writers at 11,100 and 11,000 are writing in trade. But apart from it, minuscule trades are happening in trade. So that's what the index is indicating. Agam, what are stocks indicating?
Yeah, we do have, I'm sure, a bunch of stocks which are seeing a surge in open interest based on today's movement, the up move, that too. So we have Canara Bank and Repco Home Finance not advancing so much, but Canara Bank certainly seeing a lot of fresh longs coming in. SRF and Bajaj also advancing, but less than 1%. Just Dial declining, but less than 0.5%. So, small cues coming in as far as the underlying change is concerned. But in terms of unwinding, and let's take a look at those stocks. Jet Airways, of course, which is currently in the F&O ban, is looking at unwinding of around 4% in its open interest, even as the stock advances by 2.5% after reports suggest that it has got availed a credit facility from Punjab National Bank worth over 2,000 crores for working capital. And REC, Bharat Electronics, ACC and Wipro, among others, but not too much to speak for. A bunch of stocks are there, which we will keep an eye on. Of course, one of them will be Jet Airways and how it moves today.
Okay, let's take a look at the stocks that we will address in today's show. CG Power is one of the top gainers as far as the F&O market is concerned. Infibeam of late has been doing well in trade. Just Dial has seen a decent open interest build up in trade. We'll address that. We'll talk about the PSU banking lot. A lot of PSU banks is led by SBI is doing well. Allahabad Bank is at a record 52-week high. Motherson, Sumi and Eicher are the stocks that we will address in trade today. But before we get our guest on the show, just a reminder, if you have any queries regarding futures and option market, you can call us on 022454044141 or write to us on Twitter, Facebook with the AskBQ hashtag.
And on that note, let's get in our experts for the day. We have Singh of Stock Access and Navneet Daga of Securities joining us on the show right now. Good morning and thank you for joining us, to both of you. Let me start with Navneet. Navneet, how are you seeing trade in the markets in general at this point in time? Do you see more strength come through?
Hi, good morning, Agan. Look, the general trend of the market, it's showing a kind of a gravity where even if there is a correction in the global equities, so that speaks of volumes in terms of the kind of resilience that we have got in our market. So to my understanding, there is a much more up move is coming in the coming days. We are lying at a level of somewhere near 11,400 on the upside. But however, I have to be very specific on which are the stocks or which are the strength and the stocks which we are looking at. The banking is a one pack which is looking extremely strong, and that's where one should be focusing on and having a view that Bank Nifty somewhere is moving towards that levels of 28,500 is the previous high mark. So one should be focusing on that kind of a trade in the market. The overall general trend is that the kind of a put writing that we are seeing on the lower end of 11,000, and we are not seeing any major unwinding even in the down days. That shows that the bears are basically the bulls are basically much more powerful, and they're protecting the levels of 11,000 on the lower side and looking for higher targets for the current series as well.
So what's the strategy, Navneet? I believe you have a strategy on the Nifty Bank.
Look, as we are speaking, that Bank Nifty is a one whereby if you look at if you drop down within the stocks within the Bank Nifty, all are seeing a kind of an uptrend, and the HDFC Bank, ICICI as well as SBI, all the three heavyweights are seeing a kind of an uptrend. Believe that this uptrend might continue on the Bank Nifty, and the strategy one should follow for the current series, basically for the March expiry on the monthly series, one can do a bull call ratio spreads whereby buying an at the money put of 28,000 levels. In fact, 28,000 call of at the money levels, and selling 2 lots of 28,500 calls. The current spread that we're happening in the range of 60 to 75 points. One can enter this trade at this outflow. I'm looking at a target of 28,500 levels. If that happens, the spread will widen towards the levels of at least 250 to 260 levels. That's where one should look to book profit in the strategy. And one can keep a strict stop loss if the spreads narrows down. If the Bank Nifty again go back towards below the levels of 28,000 and closes below that level, that's where the spread will narrow down towards the levels of almost 10 odd points. One should keep that as in strict stop loss levels for the strategy.
Okay. Well, to simplify it further for those who are not so well in tune with respect to strategies, a bull call spread is basically employed when you generally have a positive direction on an index or a stock. And of course, in this case, while you do have positive direction, you also are protecting yourself from a sudden down move. In this case, of course, as Navneet has suggested, he is buying one at the money call and selling 2 out of the money call options in simultaneously in order to safeguard his position right now. But with that, let me go across to Brijesh as well. Brijesh, good morning to you. You are also relatively bullish on the indices.
Good morning, Agam. See, Agam, last time also when we have spoken somewhere around 6th or 7th of this month, that time Nifty was been trading somewhere 11,050 or 30 if I'm not mistaken. And that time also I have said that Nifty had a chance of touching 11,225 or say 11,250 by say 14th or 15th of this month. Still sticking on the same thing. Nifty has almost moved up to the level of roughly 100 points from the last time when we spoken on a future side. If anyhow, if Nifty trades somewhere 11,100 or say 11,110, one can look out buying Nifty future with the stop loss of 11,040 and play for the target of 11,225 to 11,250. Again, the time period would be same 2 to 4 trading session, which I'm looking before this week. We should try to touch that level, and from there we can see a small profit booking.
Okay, so that's the view that's coming in on the Nifty. Let's move on as far as some of the stocks are concerned. I'll start with you, Brijesh. What's your view on some of the stocks that you want to recommend today?
See, Darshan, from last Friday, what we have witnessed is that the PSU banks are smartly moving up, and even the Bank Nifty is these all-time top and would be always would be making a new top. So in that PNB or Canara Bank or Union Banks, these are looking good on the chart. So from a risk reward ratio right now, Union Banks is looking good. On the future side, 80.50 or 80.55, the stock has been quoting. So one can look at to buy this at present with the stop loss of 79, play for the target of 83. Even the target can be extended to the 85. Time frame to hold this counter would be 2 to 4 trading session. Another call would be Aurobindo Pharma. The stock on a shorter term time frame has been moving on the higher lows formation, which is giving a bullish view. The previous swing high has been broken and it's been moved up. So somewhere around 746 or 750, if I'm not mistaken, it's been trading. So one can look out to buy this counter with the stop loss of 736, play for the target of 766 to 768. Time frame to hold would be again 2 to 4 trading session.
Okay, some interesting calls coming in from Brijesh. Navneet, what about you? What stocks are you betting on today?
Look, our approach has been very simple, trying to find out the stocks which are holding out in the market, even in the kind of a correction. One stock which stands out as a kind of a Muthoot Fin. The stock has seen a good breakout with the volumes and kind of a consolidation, and it's almost all-time high levels, 560 odd. It's kind of a breakout. It's not reverting back below that level. So I like to chase that stock as a momentum trade and look for an immediate target on the upside of somewhere near to 610, and place a small stop loss on the levels of somewhere near to 570 or for a short-term trade, and for a positional trade of 560. So one can look into this trade. The second trade is kind of a reiterate buy that we had for the last time that we had conversation on SBI. Quite convinced that this stock had hit a bottom on the levels of somewhere near to 260 odd, and from a positional point of view, it's moving towards that levels of 310 to 320 mark. For a very short-term trade, one can still look to enter in this range of 285, 288 range, and with a stop loss on the lower side of 280, and play for an immediate target of 304 on the upside on SBI.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in, and PSU banks of late have been rather doing well in trade. So let's go across and address the stocks that we want to talk about. Let's start with the PSU banks itself. Navneet has given a strategy on State Bank of India that seems to be doing well. Navneet, anything apart from State Bank of India that you believe that could see traction in the PSU banking space?
Look, I'd like to stick with the leaders, because we have seen what this segment this segment is basically quite volatile, and whenever we have seen a kind of a corrections, the correction are quite sharp in the lower segment. So I'll stick with the leaders, kind of a Bank of Baroda, which stands out to me. It has defended the levels of 110, and as a kind of a breakout that we are seeing, it's look likely that the stock is heading towards the level of somewhere to 124, 125 range. That's where the very stiff resistance on the weekly charts are there. So to my understanding, one can still look, it's a merit to enter into this trade in the current market price as well. For a short-term trade, I'll place a stop loss of 114 on Bank of Baroda, so one can look for immediate target at 124 on that as well.
Sure. What are you looking at? What's your overall sense that you're getting in on the PSU banking stocks? Anything that looks interesting to you? Brijesh, that was for you.
Oh. See, as I have said, PSU Bank, SBI, Canara Bank, Oriental Bank of Commerce, or just now I've spoken to Union Banks are looking good. So if someone wants to play right now with the PSU banks, there are two PSU banks which are looking good. Oriental Bank of Commerce right now 97.5 the stock has been quoting. So if someone wants to play for a short-term trading bet, the support lies at 94 followed by 95.5. So keep a stop loss on 95.5. One can look at to buy this and play for the target of 100 rupees. Second counter would be the PNB Bank. If someone has a view of say 3 month or to a 4 month time frame, then the stock has a chance of going all the way to 105 to 110 in a cash segment. But purely from a trading bet, right now it has been quoting at 86 rupee 25 paisa, and previously what we have found out somewhere around some 75 to 77 band, the stock has been taking support, and from there it has been bouncing back. So it has a strong support at that level. So right now 86.5 the stock has been quoting. Keep a stop loss of 84, buy at the current level, look for the target of 90 followed by 92. So these are the two range, range, or you can say, or the two target on the higher side, which I'm looking achieving by a week or so.
Okay, well, on that note, let's talk about the other stock that we want to address today. That's Motherson Sumi. Something certainly changed, at least as far as technicals are concerned. I'm not so certain about fundamentals, but it's gained around 5% today. And with that, the gain in the stock that we've seen since the second week of February is 36%. From the levels of around 130, we now see Motherson Sumi trade at around 171. And on a 1 month basis too, it has gained as much as 30%. These substantial gains have come in essentially in the last 2 odd weeks. And once again, after today's up move, or actually it has been trading above its 50 and 100 daily moving averages, but it is reaching towards the 200 daily moving average. The real question is, will that level serve as a near-term resistance? That's the question we want to pose. So Navneet, come in on Motherson Sumi now. How would you address this stock? How would you trade this?
Look, there are two ways to trade it. One would, I was looking at the daily charts, it's looking likely that it's moving into that hurdle zone of 175 to 180 range. But if I'm looking at the larger time frame on the weekly charts, it's still looking likely that the stock is not kind of an overbought. So depends on what time frame that you're entering in on the trade. The risk rewards is looking likely that still some kind of a more gains are still possible. But I'll wait for a tactical dip. Then the levels are somewhere near to 162 to 163 levels. That's where I would be much more comfortable to be been. But it's looking likely that it will cross about that hurdle zone of 180 mark in a kind of a larger time frame. So as somebody has got a positional point of view, one can still look to be in the buy side. But from a very tactical short-term trade, it's looking likely that the risk rewards are not very favorable on the upside for a very short-term trade.
Okay, the other stock we want to talk about is CG Power, which has managed to rally after a negative opening. Pull up CG Power and let's see what it's doing. It's up almost 3% in trade and has rallied from levels of 33, 34 over the past few weeks to levels of 38 currently. Brijesh, what's your view on CG Power? It's seen a strong rally in the last 1 month itself. It's up 10%. But nevertheless, how do the charts or the F&O trends show up for CG Power?
See, Darshan, right now stock has been quoting somewhere 37 rupees 75 paisa or say 37 rupees 50 paisa. No doubt what you have said is absolutely right. From a 32 odd level, it has been consistently moving up. Even the oscillators which were on a oversold zone are giving a confirmation followed by the volume breakout. So not at this juncture because the risk reward ratio is not in the favor. But if it trades somewhere around below 37 or somewhere around 36, definitely one can look out to buy this counter with a strict stop loss of 34, play for the target of 39 rupees 50 paisa because the previous swing high was somewhere around that level where we have from where we have seen a profit booking. If we are across that level of 39 rupees 50 paisa on a closing basis, stock could be entering into the new territory that is heading towards a level of say 43 rupees to 46 rupees. So at this level, avoid. Let it come somewhere around 36, buy at that level with the stop loss of 34, play for the target of 39.5 followed by 43.
Okay. And on that note, let's move across to the other stock from the auto sector, that's Eicher Motors. And this one again has seen a little bit of a spurt in today's day of trade. If you pull up your open interest, there you have it. It's also surged by as much as 6%. There is some amount of activity happening, not necessarily over the past few days, but certainly today. And again, we have seen a very sharp move, at least on your daily moving averages when it comes to your 100 daily moving average. We've seen a little bit of an up move there. This is of course on your end of day charts. But Brijesh, how would you trade Eicher Motors now? Do you think there is some more strength left in this one, or do you think you'd want to wait for a dip to move into this?
Agam, this is a very good stock which I am been looking from a chart point of view on a shorter term time frame. The high lows formation has been there somewhere around 19,000 onward. The stock has been consistently moving up. The previous swing high was somewhere around 21,800. It has been crossed very smoothly. So till that level of 21,800 or say 21,900 didn't break, use dip for a buying, and I'm looking at least stock going to the level of say 23,500. So at least 1,000 point rally is still been left from where we can see a profit booking. So present trade or any dip can be used for our accumulation purpose with the stop loss of 21,800 for the target of 23,500.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Eicher Motors. The other counter which is very interesting and has managed to move up 8% today is Infibeam. It's moved up on very low open interest build up of 3%. Navneet, what are you figuring it out on Infibeam? Is it a stock that you would recommend to your clients, or what's your overall sense on this chart?
Look, it's a kind of a stock which is for the braveheart traders. I would refrain to give any recommendation on that stock to our clients. Basically, it's kind of a very volatile and news-based stock. And to my understanding, until unless it see a closing on the weekly side or above 50 odd levels, it does not seem to be coming out of the woods, a kind of a fall that it has seen. But it would be a kind of a tactical up move. The chances are that it might see a kind of an uptrend towards the 45 to 46 mark is quite high. But certainly kind of an avoid kind of a stock for me looking at the overall chart patterns.
Well, a stock where movements are very dependent on the news flow of late is Jet Airways. And of course, today we've had some positive news flow coming in, at least as far as reports suggest. According to Mint, well, they have availed credit facility of over 2,000 crores, and this is towards working capital. Over the past few weeks, we have been reporting time and again about the number of aircraft which have been grounded due to non-payment to lessors. And of course, that has had a negative impact on Jet Airways. At this point in time, we are seeing unwinding in its futures, down around 5.6% in its open interest. But that is because largely on account of the fact that the stock went into the F&O band last Friday. It is in the F&O band right now, which means that you will not be able to take fresh positions to carry forward unless and until, well, certain amount of positions have, well, unwound. And of course, on an intraday basis, is a completely different scenario. But currently trading at around 250 rupees per share, up around 2.7%. Brijesh, we have a question, a viewer query from Arvind Mohan Gupta on YouTube. He wants to know what can be done with Jet Airways. What would your advice be to him?
See, Agam, right now, future is somewhere around 238, followed by cash, it is 250. If someone has a view of a very short term, I would be suggesting to avoid, because of the news, the gap of opening had happened and it had moved up, but it's not able to sustain. So I would be avoiding at this juncture. If someone wants to go for a sell side, keep a stop loss of 255 or say 256 and look to sell at the present rate. But it has a strong support at somewhere around 225 to 228 band. So if someone wants to go for a long side, if it trades somewhere around 238, one can go for a long side and play for the target of 260, because 260 hurdle would be acting as a tough resistance. If that thing has been crossed, then we can see another 20 rupees upside. But I'm not looking crossing this 260 level at the present mark.
Okay, well, it's been an hour since the markets have opened. Before we conclude the show, Navneet, is there any other stock or perhaps a nuanced view on the indices that you want to talk about?
Look, just only perspective is basically that, that this market is gaining strength even in the first hour of a trade. We are seeing some kind of an weak hands would be on the short side would be wiped out in the first half of a trade. It's look likely that the stocks which are holding on might build on to the gains. The kind of a PSU banks that we had talked about, the overall banking setup is looking interesting to us. So from a trading perspective, even if from a very short-term trade, one can look for a bank nifty as in trade on the future side. It's looking likely that it's imminent that it is break above the previous high mark. So on a closing basis, until unless you see below or now closing below 28,000 mark, it's looking likely that 28,350 odd kind of levels might be coming in the next week or so. So from a trading perspective, one can look into that with a closing stop loss at 28,000 on the lower side.
Vijay, the same question to you. Anything that stands out for you in trade at this point in time?
Agam, right now, telecom sector is looking good. So in that, Bharti Airtel is, has had moved up, and the previous swing low has been holding on. So at the present rate of 316, one can look out to buy this counter with the stop loss of say 308 or say even 312 and play for the target of 326 to 330 zone. I think within a day or two, we might try to achieve the target of 326 to 330 level.
Okay, guys, on that note, I'm going to take a moment to thank both our experts, Brijesh and Navneet, for joining us and taking us through their views. But we have reached the end of the show. So for more news and updates on the F&O space, you can check our website at bloombergquint.com. Plenty of data out there for you to help with your trading day. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of the F&O Show. But for more news and updates, stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint Live.